The COVID inquiry took an explicit turn this week as Dominic Cummings joined those giving evidence. If Boris Johnson was an out-of-control shopping trolley, then it appears the government was being run like a chaotic game of supermarket sweep. The people in charge weren't in charge, all hated each other, and the PM was passing the buck quicker than he could launch a rugby ball back in his uni days. Alex, the week has been full of bombshell quotes, with Dominic Cummings calling cabinet ministers useless fuck pigs, morons, and worse. I'm gonna rule out the C word for this one.
Oh, Ian Dunt. We're thinking of you, mate.
Does the tone of these conversations, though, tell you really as much as the content?
In some ways more. I mean, culture shock, I think, was the intended result. And the other thing that's extraordinary is that they thought they had time for this. I was really struck by something Martin Reynolds, Marty, said on Monday when he was giving evidence. And he said, and I quote, "We were looking at a 5 or 10-year horizon." So basically, the pandemic caught them at their floppiest possible moment. They had just got Brexit done. They had just won that election with a huge majority. They were going on corporate jollies and planning what grand things they were going to do with the country. And I think quite busy patting themselves on the back. And it was the worst possible moment. It was that culture shock that would, Cummings' style was very much just come in and kick stuff over and see what happens.
Yeah, that sort of personal brashness and ego is what I find so jarring.
And it's that unknown.
Yeah.
That's the reason you can't fucking do that when you're in number 10, because that unknown might happen at any moment.
And as if they considered that celebrating an election win kind of disregarded the state the country was in at that point due to governments run by their peers as well. Things weren't exactly great when they came into power in the first place. Basically. It's quite strange. How did you feel watching Cummings, though, and what stood out most to you from, other than the bizarre swear words he threw about, what stood out?
So I will answer those in reverse. What stood out to me is the sheer, just nonchalant disregard with which people viewed the governance of a country of 65 million people. Cummings was challenged on the fact that he knew perfectly well that Johnson was unsuited to leading the country, both in essentials and in temperament. And still he supported, enabled, got him elected, elevated him to that position. Why? Because the alternative was apparently a second referendum and a Labour government. So, and this is his quote, "We decided to roll the dice."
And
how do I feel that? Profoundly angry. I mean, just the casual nature with which they decided to play with people's fate. I just find it astonishing.
And the way he pushed him forward, not only by getting him there, but the narrative he built around Boris Johnson as well is something, this idea that he was someone who was a team builder and might be slightly useless himself, but don't worry, when he's in power, he'll get the right people in and he'll rally them up in that way.
Because the subtext is that I will be managing him.
Yeah.
He's an idiot. He just wants to be in that position. He doesn't actually want to govern. So he'll be in that position and I'll do the governing. But for two people who for many, many years have labored under the misapprehension that they are the smartest person in the room and have huge egos, how long would it be before they were in the same room and started questioning whether the other one was smarter and started measuring their dicks? I mean, the answer is a matter of months.
So Lee Cain was also spoken to. He's sort of been subsumed by Dominic Cummings.
I thought his evidence was better, to be honest, juicier in many ways.
But he said that Boris Johnson, the pandemic was the wrong crisis for his skill set. I mean, what exactly is the right crisis for his skill set? And also, since when did prime ministers get to pick the crisis that befalls them?
That was a quote of the day, I think, that this was the wrong crisis for this prime minister's skill set. I don't know what crisis. I mean, is there one that requires indecision, immorality, lying? But we still got the spectacle of his proxies going out there to defend him. You know, Gito Harry, presumably still paying off his knighthood, suggested that others, meaning him, have managed Johnson better and have managed to, and I quote, tease out decisions from him. And like, if you need a nanny, you shouldn't be PM.
No.
No. we needn't. And Nadine Dorries seeing the inquest into 250,000 deaths as a sort of marketing opportunity and tweeting, to find out what really happened, buy my book.
Yeah, well, I saw
Nah,
this,
mate. If you knew what really happened, you'd be giving evidence to the inquiry.
Yeah.
You wouldn't be writing an unauthorized fan fiction of Johnson, right?
Yeah.
I mean, yeah.